Well, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Alison Maslan from Pinnacle Global Network for the second year. Alison, I still tell everyone I come across to read your book, which I think is absolutely brilliant, and I'll
Thank you.
continue to do so. For those that haven't heard of Alison before, strategic exits don't happen by accident. They're engineered through intentional system design and scalable operations. If your company still depends on your daily involvement, you're not just limiting your growth, you're significantly reducing your acquisition value. In this high impact session, Alison Maslan, CEO of Pinnacle Global Network and founder of 10 successful companies and best-selling author of Scale or Fail, this exact book, will reveal the blueprint for building a company that attracts premium acquisition offers with experience helping 150,000 plus founders scale. She'll also show strategic buyers how to find opportunities. Welcome back, Alison.
Oh, Ross, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm excited to support all of you to have the opportunity to have the best exit possible, whenever that is, whether it's, next year or 5 or 10 years from now. It's something that you have to start preparing for now. And the more profitable that you make your company, the better situated where it's not dependent on you. You'll have a happier time running your company and you'll have a much higher valuation. So let's get started.
Brilliant.
And I would love to hear in the chat too, how many of you are looking to prepare for exit in the next, let's say, 5 years or so. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my slides. All right, here we go. So I'm going to be talking about architecting your exit, and we're going to talk about scaling today, because when it's time to exit, you want to be on the way up, right? You don't want to be at the peak or on the way down. And it's much more fun going up. So why is it, or how is it that Spencer Raskoff, who was the co-founder of Zillow, how were he and his team able to take this small website that was listing some houses for sale to a multi-billion-dollar enterprise? How was he able to do it? And how was Allie Webb, how was she able to take Drybar from $25 a pop for blow drying women's hair to selling it, even just one portion of the company, for over 200 million to Helen of Troy? And how has Ellen Latham been able to take Orange Theory from one location generating under $50,000 a year to close to 2,000 locations generating over $1 billion a year without having any business experience prior? Well, the way they did it was they expanded to a scalable model. And so if you want to have a high valuation exit, you want to make sure that your business has a scalable model. And I'm going to explain this to you. Now, scaling can be an overused word, but in most cases, it's actually misunderstood. It's not just fast growth. What scaling really means is replication and multiplication, shifting your product and your service to a model where it can replicate and then ultimately multiply well beyond you. And that way you impact so many more people, your profits go way up, your valuation goes way up, and we get the business ultimately not depending on you for growth. Now, everything that I'm going to share with you today is from our proprietary method, the Scale Up method, which we have used with over 150,000 CEOs around the world to help them scale. It's the only method that is particularly focused on scaling, but on the entire business and even the CEO. So it's not just operations or just marketing, it's everything, because every aspect of your business affects every other aspect of your business. And like Ross shared my book, Scale or Fail, Damon John has endorsed the book. And the reason is that he understands the importance of having a system behind what you do. So if you want to exit your business for, much more than you're making right now, and that is the intention, obviously, you can't just throw stuff at the wall and hope it works. You have to have a solid plan in place. Now, our scalable model, I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to show you 15 scalable models that the most successful brands use to multiply their growth. And you really only need one to create a $1 billion company. Now, this one that we do in my company, Pinnacle Global Network, this is my 10th company. And for the last 16 years, we have been mentoring CEOs all around the world to grow and scale their companies. Now, in the beginning, we started this in 2010. So in 2008, 2009, I was having a lot of business owners come to me and say, Allison, can you help me? Can you teach me how you build all these companies? So I was helping them because I love helping people. But then I knew quickly, well, I can only help so many people. So this really isn't scalable. And so I have built a team of over 40 CEOs that have built very successful companies, taken companies public. They've had thousands of employees. They've done lots of exits and acquisitions and so forth. So these are the mentors that work with our clients. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is this is a scalable model, which we call replicate your talent with a team. So if you have a service business, this is a great scalable model for you. If you have a finance business or a recruiting business, we want to get you out of the involvement of the sales or delivery process, because your business will not scale if you are part of that process. Now, you want to have a strong team to deliver whatever it is that you offer, but you don't want them coming on and just going rogue and doing whatever they want. You have to have a system that they follow. So even though our mentors are extremely experienced, they've been in the trenches, they have so much wisdom they bring to the table, we have a system in place, the Scale It method, with the strategies and the tools they use, so we can make sure that all of our clients are getting this elevated experience that we're able to monitor. So if you have an accounting firm and you start scaling with a bunch of accountants, you want to have a system that they follow. Now, the reason that what I'm sharing with you is so important, and tell me in the chat if you can relate to this, because there's a point in your business growth where you may have done great getting out of the gate, and you may have had some years where you experienced some good growth, but there is a point in for most business owners where they hit a wall of growth and they cannot get beyond it. And you're like, okay, it's a new year. I'm going to work harder. But the truth is, you're already working 24/7. There's no more hours in the day. And then you say, well, I'm going to focus more. And we know all of you ADD entrepreneurs, right? So the truth is that business owners just keep working harder and harder. And you got into business to create more freedom, but you wake up one day realizing that the business is running you instead of you running it. Let me know if you have experienced this in your business, because millions of business owners, they get impacted this way. Many have struggles with their health, from pushing themselves so hard, trouble with their relationships, sometimes even divorce, because the business becomes all consuming, and you wake up and business is on your mind, and you wake up at 3 a.m, business is on your mind. You're at dinner with your significant other, business is on your mind, because you're thinking of all the things that you have to do. And I'm here to tell you that if you're preparing for that high valuation exit, then it's not about the hustle that's going to get you there. It's about creative strategy. It's working smarter, not harder. And so that's what I want to share with you today. Now, I'm going to take you through the 5 pillars of the Scale It method. And I want you to think about your business right now. And I want you to think about these areas of your company, because each of these pillars needs to be shored up for you to have a strong valuation for your company and to take your business to the next level. And generally, when we meet with CEOs and we work with business owners, mainly in over $1 million in revenue to about 150 million, and we find that maybe 2 or 3 are doing okay, but some of the pillars are actually non-existent. So strategic vision is probably the most important, but it is the one area that business owners tend to spend the least amount of time on. And so it's all about where you're going. And if you aren't crystal clear, then how is your team going to get behind it? And you, as a CEO, need to be living in vision, jumping up and down, excited about where you're going all of the time. In every meeting, it's all about the vision. Cash flow is the oxygen of your company, and it needs to be coming in on a regular basis. Alliance of the team is a team aligned behind the vision. And if they're not aligned by the vision, like if I can't come into your company and say, hey, John, tell me, what is the vision for the company that you're working with? And if they can't rattle that off super quickly, then you really don't have a team that's fully plugged into your vision. You have a team in chaos. Leadership is all about you. It's how you show up. It's how you communicate. It's how you show up on the good days, but also on the challenging days, because your role is raising the vibe within your company. But it's also how you think. It's your mindset. It's your money mindset. And as we say, new level, new devil. And so you need to constantly be working on your own leadership. And execution is how everything rolls out. And ideally, it's going to match your strategic vision or exceed it. It is that accountability. It's those KPIs so that you can really track and make sure that everything is executed as you had initially intended. Now, there are 5 phases to scaling, and I want you to pay attention to this. And what I would love for you to do is I'd love for you to post in the chat, once I go over this, what phase your business is in. And the reason this is so important is that most business owners have no idea what phase their company is in. And having that awareness is power. Clarity is power. And so when we can understand what phase you're in, then we can figure out what are the gaps that are keeping you there and what needs to happen to get you to that next phase. And so we want to have you build a team managed company, a founder independent company. If I were to come and say, I am interested, Dan, in investing in your company or buying your company, but I find out that the day you leave, that your company tanks, then I'm not interested. It's not much value to you. And as this great quote says, if your business depends on you, you don't own a business, you have a job. And it's the worst job in the world because you work for a lunatic, which is you, right? So we can all be lunatics in our businesses. I have been there, but think about it this way. Only 17% of businesses are saleable. And out of those 17%, most of them are not getting much money for their business. That means that you've been working decades in your business, sacrificing time with your family, traveling, exploring the world, having other passions in your life. and then you're not able to sell it or not able to sell it for much. So basically, what that means is you've been working for about $5 an hour for the amount of work that you're putting in your business. That's how important this is that I'm sharing with you. Okay, so phase one, and the goal here is to get you to phase five. So pay attention to this. Phase one is the startup. Most of you are beyond that. And this is an exciting phase. You're putting your creativity out into the world, but everything depends on you. So it's not really scalable at this point. So you're going to start building a small team. You're going to move into phase two. And by the way, the statistics show that if you hire an assistant within the first 6 months of starting your business, you get to seven figures in half the time. So you start to build a small team in phase two. We call this the pioneer because you're out on the plains, you're getting your hands dirty, you're in the thick of your business. You are getting more clear and optimizing your products and services. You're building out your customer journey and you're delegating, which is awesome. But the thing that often gets business owners stuck in phase two and they never leave is because you still feel like you've got to approve everything going in and out of your company. And that makes you what? Put that in the chat. When you have to approve and everything going in and out of your business, you think that you're helping, but you're actually choking the growth of your business, right? So what is it? Bottleneck. Yes, which is a very nice way of saying you are the control freak. Let's be honest. Okay. You're the control freak. Exactly. And so, what has to happen? You've got to let go, which feels like the scariest thing that you will ever do in your business. But it absolutely has to happen for you to start growing. Now, we're going to move into phase three as we start adding more team members on. You're starting to build teams and you're even building teams of teams. We call phase three the ringleader. And I call phase three the ringleader because it's a circus in phase three. It is. And the reason is that you have all these teams and you've got people coming and going. Sometimes it can feel like there is a revolving door in your business. And I'll tell you, this is the biggest mistake. Write this down. The reason that your business often feels like it is a circus is because you hire people, you bring them on the team before you understand what success looks like for the role. And I mean down to the metrics. What if this person that you bring on the team, if they succeed in their role, what does that look like? What does that look like in value, in dollars to your bottom line? And if you don't know that, they don't know that. And if you're not on the same wavelength, then you are going to be frustrated because you're going to have mismatched expectations. And it's really setting them up to fail. And you're in phase three. And tell me if you can relate to this. You're in phase three if you're up at night talking to your mother or your significant other about XYZ employee and you're so frustrated because they're not meeting your expectations, right? And so then what happens? You jump in. You're like, oh my gosh, they're not working out. I'm so frustrated. Now I got to go fix it. And you feel like you got to be the hero. And that starts this vicious cycle of that hamster wheel where you're running and running and running for years. And you might be getting some incremental growth, but you're not really taking the big leaps. You see, what happened is that you're trying to scale and grow with the same strategies and actions and mindset that you had in the early days of your business. And it will actually sabotage your growth. So in phase three, this is so important because this is where millions of business owners or the business, not the business owners, but in some cases, I would imagine from the stress, that the business dies here and it never gets beyond this. This is why this is so important. You've got people in the wrong roles. You're still micromanaging and you think you have to operate like that. And the team wants to win, but they don't really understand what that looks like. And you're going 1,000 different directions. And by the end of the day, you're so tired, you can't even decide what you want for dinner for you. So, I'm going to just give you a few examples along the way just to illustrate what I'm talking about. This gentleman, Marshall Doyle, he came to one of our events for Pinnacle Global Network, and he had been running his company, CalCert, for 20 years. He had never taken a vacation in 20 years. And he was at about 3.5 million in revenue at the time. And he had grown incrementally. And he was telling me that he had his hands in every single area of the company. And when he shared this, he had some pride, like, yes, I do that. And I work so hard. And I said, Marshall, we're going to extricate you from the day to day of the company. And he laughed at me. He seriously laughed at me. And he said, okay, it was like, all right, just prove it. Prove it. Okay. Well, within a few years, not only did we get Marshall out of the day of the company, build up his team managed company, his leadership, he went from working 60, 80 hours a week to only needing to attend one meeting a week. He acquired 35 other companies because he had the time to do so. And by the way, none of them depended on him to run. And he has been able to recently exit the business for a very, very high valuation. He was stuck at the same place for 20 years. So look at where you are right now and ask yourself, how many hands do you have on levers in your company? You need to always be working on replacing yourself. You've got to shift from being a boss to being a leader. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like to be told what to do. And I see here someone says it's hard because no one will ever show up like you or work like you. And it's a hard reality to face. Well, the thing is that if the team is excited about the vision and they are empowered to own it like a leader, you will see that shift. And if that's the story you keep telling yourself, that is ultimately all you're going to get. Okay. And so I don't like to be told what to do, and I'm sure your team doesn't either. So what has to happen? So I want to help you with that here. You've got to empower your team to own it. You've got some smart people around you, and maybe you have some people that are not the right fit. Okay, we know hire slow, fire fast if they're not the right fit. But when you start hiring based on culture and vision, you will get people that want to get behind what you do. But if you take their power away by always jumping in and telling them what to do, they're not going to be inspired and they're going to stop bringing these ideas to the table. So instead of telling them, if they ask you questions, say things like, well, what would you do in this situation? How would you handle it? Or why don't you put a plan together and present it to the team? Or why don't you come up with 3 different ideas and pick one? So stop being that hero. Stop being the octopus with your hands in everything and empower your team into action. Now, Constance Wanamaker is one of our clients at Pinnacle Global Network. And when she came to us, she was working about 17 hours a day. She had a successful company. I think they were at like 2.5 million at the time. And but she was in chaos. She was completely exhausted. The business was running her. And so we helped her to see where she was in the way and started to replace her in those bigger areas of the company. And the shift started happening fast. She literally went from 35 or about 30 employees to over 300 employees. She went from just 2.5 million in revenue to this last year doing 50 million in revenue. She is set to hit a minimum of 80 million in revenue this year. She was just named the fastest growing law firm on the Inc. 5000 list in 2024. And so this happened in 2.5 years. All right. So think about this. We make it so much harder than it needs to be. So we want to get you into phase 4. All right. That's where it starts to get fun. And let me know in the chat so far which phase you're in. Are you in 2? Are you in 3? Can you relate to any of this that's going on? Tell me that. So phase 4 is the co-creator. And this is where you start building the team, building the company with the team. It's no longer top down. It's not even bottom up. It's it's collaborating together. This is where it gets fun. And you start to see these leaders stepping up in the company when you start to empower them, these shining stars. And then what happens is that you can slowly start to step back because your team's got it handled. Your vision and your values are so entrenched in the company by now. This is how I'm able to live in Zihuatanejo, Mexico with my husband 5 months of the year while my team's got it handled. They don't need me, right? Because I have now got smart people on the team that they can do it better than I can. And so, how many of you feel like, so we've got phase 4, 3 to 4. Awesome. So, how many of you feel like, well, this sounds great, Allison, but I don't really have the cash to add more people to the team? And I want to challenge you with that for a moment, because if every person on your team was bringing in 3 to 10 times what you paid them for their yearly salary to your bottom line, you might be thinking differently. And that's the formula that you want to follow. So if you're not bringing these people on, you're actually losing money. We call that COI, cost of inaction. And so if this is how you really want to measure, if that's the case and they are bringing this type of growth, they're more than paying for themselves. And it's not just sales. If they're so great at customer service or operations and they're taking amazing care of your clients and your retention goes up by 15%, or you have someone awesome in accounting and they save you $300,000 in your budgeting, or you have a great executive assistant that saves you 20 hours a week so that you can go out and acquire other companies. So this is how you want to be looking at it. You want to have the data and the metrics behind everything you do. And you want to figure out, like I said, what are these numbers before you even bring anybody on the team. So one of the most important things that I'll share with you today is this slide. If you want to take a picture of it, to remind yourself that your role as the CEO is to focus on the future. That's where my head is at as the CEO and founder of my company, Pinnacle Global Network. I am focused on where we're going 3 years out. I just presented to the team where we're going to be in 2028. Your role is to focus on the future. Your team's role is to focus on today. Now, so then this is going to move you into phase 5, which I call the visionary. You want to be a visionary CEO. Now the company is totally running without you. You could go to Bora Bora for 6 months and it continues to flourish. Now, obviously, you need to know the metrics. We call these the North Star metrics. So you know in every department what their scores are on, those important metrics like cost of acquisition or retention or conversion, those important numbers. So you will know if something is going in the wrong direction. But you've got leaders in each of those quadrants of your company. Now you are going to have a business that's going to have a higher valuation. It's growing and it's not dependent on you, which you need to start working on today if you are planning to exit your business. So the reason that I am so passionate about this is that I have lived it. I started my first business when I was 19. It was a full service advertising and public relations firm in San Diego, California, and it grew really quickly. I had clients like these that had thousands of employees, and we were helping them to grow and scale their business. Our agency grew very quickly. By the time I was 25, I was traveling all over. I was making a lot of money, but the thing is that I was finding myself uh, stuck between that phase two and phase three. You see, I didn't know how to scale. I was that control freak. I thought it had to all land on me. And so I would stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning, uh, creating ad campaigns. My daughter was under 2 years old at the time, and I was an absolute mess. So, have any of you ever been there before? Like I said, where, you're passionate about your business, but you feel like you have no life and you can barely breathe. And this is where I was at that time. And I got depressed. I started having panic attacks. I'd never had anxiety in my life. I started having panic attacks on Sunday. My chest would be pounding out of my skin, thinking about Monday and all that I had on my shoulders. And I just didn't know a way out. I didn't know how to scale back then. I didn't have this kind of support that I'm sharing with you now. And so I don't know if any of you can relate to this or you've been there before. And so what ended up happening was, because I was so afraid to make a change, that from the stress of it all, I ended up having a terrible car accident that almost took my life just from sheer exhaustion and stress. And so that was my wake up call. That was my big wake up call to say, wait a minute, I don't want to live like this. I have these clients that have thousands of employees. I don't see the CEO of their business standing over everybody like an orchestra leader. They're not. They're out there making deals happen. And so that was the inspiration to me to study how were these companies running their business? What were the systems and processes that they had in place? What were the strategies and models that they were using to scale their business and have a founder independent company? And I went on to build 9 more businesses that did not depend on me to run successfully. And this has been my mission. It really is my legacy, because I see so many business owners with so much potential and so much potential growth for the company, but you are being run over by your business. And so that's why having a team managed company is so critical, not just for the growth of your business and the valuation that you're going to get, but it's also for your life and your well being, because we should be enjoying life every single day. There's a whole world going on out there that's waiting for you. And so now let's talk about the revenue side of the company. We talked about building a team managed company. Now let's talk about how we're going to scale the revenue. But let me know in the chat if any of you can relate to what I'm talking about. If you've been there before, if you have questions, please go ahead and put those in the chat, and we're going to open it up for questions in just a bit. So, a scalable model will multiply the growth of your business as you are planning to exit. Or if you just say, you know what, the business doesn't depend on me anymore, it's making good money. I have a great lifestyle. I'm able to travel. The business is helping so many people. I'm just going to let it run a little bit more. Okay. So these are the 15 scalable models. You can take a picture of this, and I'm going to go over some of these, but these are the models that the most successful brands use. Now, some companies have 3 or 4 models they apply, and some of them just do one and still build a billion company. Now, Zillow, the way they were able to scale was through acquisition. And uh, Orange Theory, which I shared earlier, they were able to scale through master franchising. So there are many, many ways to do this. The first one, which I told you earlier, replicate your talent with a team. All right. And so that's getting you out of the day to day, adding upsells and cross sells. What else is it that your customers need that they're spending somewhere else? Now, one of our mentors on our team, this is Louis Ortiz, he built a very successful company manufacturing aquariums all over the world for resorts and restaurants. And what he realized was that the people that bought these aquariums, they were hiring other companies to come and clean those aquariums. And he realized, wow, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. Let's start an aquarium cleaning business. And so that became a subscription program, monthly recurring revenue. And so we know that MRR is really important in raising the valuation of your business. And that ended up generating more money than the current business. He was able to sell for over $40 million. Now, monthly subscriptions are a great scalable model. And some of you might think, well, it doesn't really apply to my business. And I challenge you to think again, because the win win in a subscription or membership model is, or even a service plan, all of these are monthly recurring. It's a win for your customer because they don't have to keep ordering. And then it's a win for you because you know you have this money coming in as long as you're really taking great care of your customers. So here's an example of a industry where they had never had a subscription model before. Kara Golden, who's in this picture here, she's the founder of Hint Water. And at the time, she could not afford to get on the grocery store shelves and compete with the other beverage brands. And so she started a direct to consumer subscription model, even though everyone told her in the industry, this will not work. This will not work. But she didn't listen and has generated several hundreds of millions of dollars. It is over 40% of their revenue. And again, it had not been done before. We've done subscription models for recruiting companies, even cold storage refrigeration companies. Okay. So there is always a way. Now, I love this example of H&R Block. And they have scaled in so many ways. Okay. Now I'm not a endorser of H&R Block, but it's brilliant what they've been able to do. They've been around since like 1955, known for doing taxes. Pretty straightforward, doing taxes. How many accountants do that? But look what they've done. They've gone from the free to the high level to the premium. So they have that stair step model. They do it yourself or will do it for you. They have certification model where they certify tax accountants in their process. So many. They have digital. They have brick and mortar. My goodness, they have scaled every which way, up, down, and around. Certification is a great way to scale because now you are targeting a completely different avatar. If you are known in your industry and you're great at what you do and you have an amazing process, you can certify even your competition on what you do. And then you become really known as the expert in your field. I had one of my companies. I was a homeopathic physician for 20 years. And then I started the first homeopathic college in Southern California called the Homeopathic Academy of Southern California. And we built a 3-year certification program. And so I became really known in that industry because I built this school and this program. And sometimes people are afraid to do this because they feel like, oh, I'm giving my secrets away to my competitors. But that's really thinking small. The other thing is when you certify these people, now you have an amazing pool of talent to choose from because you have trained them and they've paid you to do it. Adding a product to your service or a service to your product. And this is what Drybar did. And that over $200 million sale was not from their brick and mortar locations. It was from their products that they added to their line. Buying and selling licensing is also a great way to scale because you can leverage somebody else's hard work in developing a product that you can license. Or if if you have great visibility of your brand, or you've built a software or something like that, you can license it and then sell that to different industries. Replicating through franchise, like I said, that's what Orange Theory has done. They've done master franchising, and that's actually, I think, a better model than straight franchising because you have somebody that owns an area. So let's say somebody owns Texas, and so that's their job is to go find those franchisees. So that helps to take the pressure off of you. Acquisition, which you all are talking about a lot during this summit, is a great way to scale. And all of these scalable models, this is what we help our clients do at Pinnacle Global Network. And so acquisition is great because let's say you have a company that's been years building their brand, building their audience, building their customer base, building their products and services, and you're able to leverage that. Now, the thing that's so important, and I feel like the number one thing when you're looking at acquisition, besides obviously the profitability and the numbers, is the culture. How is their culture? Because if you have a good culture and now you're going to tap into another company or merge your companies and they've got a lot of toxicity there, that can be the downfall. And I've definitely seen that. And so that's something you really want to do a lot of research on before you acquire that company. But it's a great way to scale. Creating your own technology is also, well, easier now with AI. And I know you just learned some cool stuff from Kane, who was on here earlier. And so, but you may be doing something in your business. You have a certain process that other companies can really benefit from there. So you can turn that into your own software. So it doesn't matter whether you have a product, you have a service, you are a manufacturer, you're digital, you're online, offline, you can scale. But like I said earlier, it's not about the hustle. It really is about creative strategy. It's working smarter, not harder. Now, my dad was a consummate entrepreneur. He was my greatest inspiration. And he took one women's clothing store and scaled it to over 50 locations across the United States. And I used to go with him from store to store when I was little. And I just thought, wow, this looks like so much fun because we would go for ice cream in between each one. So I thought, well, running a business, this is like the coolest thing ever. And so, but he would say to me, I'd say, Dad, tell me, like, what is it that I need to know? And he would always say, do more of it, what is working, and drop what's not. Do more of what's working and drop what's not. Do more complementary things to what is working and drop what's not. And so at the time, I didn't think that was such great advice. I thought it was so simple, but it's actually one of the most profound things that he could share with me because we often focus on what's not working. And so we really want to double down on more what is. Okay. And so let me know if you are resonating with this. When you scale, this is what happens. These 4 things. You get your life back. You help so many more people. You're not playing small. You're doing the global game, okay? This is where your profit starts to multiply and your valuation multiplies. Okay? So this is why this is so, so important. And so let me ask you, think about, because we're still kind of in the first quarter. We're in the first quarter. We're coming to the end of the first quarter of this year, coming up here. And so I'd love to know, if you don't want to put this in the chat, you don't have to, but at least write it down. How much revenue do you want to generate by the end of this year in your current company, or if you have more than one company? What is that number that you want to, um, Dan, okay, 2 million. Awesome. So anybody else want to share? How much do you want to generate by the end of this year? And so whatever that is, I want you to kind of hold that number in your mind for a second. And I want you to ask yourself, what if that yearly goal became your monthly goal? What if that yearly goal became your monthly goal? And I know that might sound crazy, but for some of you, you're already making monthly what you were making yearly in the early years of your business. It's just a number. And most I see is that business owners think way too small. And so if you can expand your thinking beyond the crevices of your mind to see that's possible. I was a single mom for 12 years. I had zero money. Okay. And so I'm here to tell you it's whatever you decide, that is what you will create. But don't do it alone. Get the support. Because it can definitely be lonely at the top, but you have the power to create whatever you decide. You really, really do. And I'm all for that for you. So I have Michael, I know you're on here. I have a couple gifts for everybody on here today. And so let me go ahead and share those with everybody. You shared my book, and I didn't tell you this, Michael, but we're actually going to send everybody my book as a gift. So if this is something that you would like, to have Scale or Fail, this book has changed so many lives. I'm so proud of this book. I have to say, I put my heart and soul into it. We have a QR code here that you can use. And when you do, you're also going to get my ebook that we just published. And so you'll get the ebook. You can start reading now, and then we will ship the other book to you. You can get it by going to this QR code, or you can go on this link here. And I think Megan, if she's in there, she can drop the link. But it's scaleit.ceo/ebook. So I'm happy to take questions. We've got another 10 minutes. I'm going to leave this up for a minute for those of you that are wanting to get your book so I can send it to you. Thanks for posting that, Megan.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alison. I can definitely recommend that book. As I said at the beginning, I've had that for over a year and recommended it to many people. You mentioned in there that you scaled 9 companies. Were they all in a similar industry, or were they across different industries?
Totally different industries. I'm that eclectic entrepreneur. And that's why in Pinnacle Global Network, we have hundreds of industries that we work with. And that's intentional because, when business owners brainstorm together, you don't want to be just with people in your industry. You want to be with people in other industries. And so for me, I always created business around things that I was passionate about. So I had a real estate investment company, a software company, a jewelry and accessory company. I had 3 hair salons, and I sold 4 of these companies. A homeopathic practice that I shared with you, and homeopathic college, a scuba diving certification company. So like, as across the board. And so when it came time to my 10th business, I said to my husband, I don't know what I want to do next. I love that excitement of starting something new. And he said, just why don't you just put it out in the universe? Like, and I was like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? And then people just were, like I said, they kept asking me, Allison, can you teach me? How have you done this? And for me, it just seemed a natural thing to do because I was raised in that type of environment. And then, like I said, now we have grown it to helping thousands and thousands of CEOs around the world. It's been 16 years, and this one, this is it because for me now I get to help other people reach their dreams, and that's the most satisfying of all.
Yeah, I love that. Do you find, is there a particular time frame it takes for someone to join the program, and then when it finally clicks and they start thinking bigger? Because that was one of the things I took from the end of your presentation there, think bigger.
Yeah, for sure. Well, mindset is a huge piece for anybody, right? I mean, unless you've built a $1 billion company already, you don't know what is next or what's around the corner. But our clients start seeing growth within the first 4 months. It depends on how much of a mess your company's in. So we have to kind of pull the pieces apart. Sometimes we need to help you replace people on your team and so forth. But we have many, many stories of businesses double, tripling their revenue within 1 year. But we have many clients with us more than 10 years. We become like the strategists for the life of their business, kind of like your board of advisors in a
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, I love that. I also love the hire and acquire the culture as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's it's when people say we can't find good people. And I think this is important because I hear it all the time. We can't find good people in our industry. And I'll just tell you, there are billions of people on the planet. There are a lot of great people out there. It's just, are you leading with, I need somebody with this skill, or are you leading with, this is our culture and this is our vision? Because employees are looking for a place to call home. They're going to spend more time with you than they are with their family in many cases. And so, you've got to stand out in the crowd and lead with your heart,
Yeah,
and you will start attracting those passionate people.
yeah, I love
And
that. And I've just shared a question on the screen there
yeah,
from Douglas. What approach do you find best in terms of transitioning to a team managed business? Promotion from within or hiring from outside? And how long do you typically
yeah,
think it can take to transition? That's a great question.
it's a really great question. Thank you for asking that. And I'll just say both, because sometimes you'll have people on the team and you just see they have those leadership qualities, and they're really hungry and they're all in, and with the right training they can level up. And we have 60 employees on our team, and we have several that started with us, and they were younger, and they have they have leveled up to leaders on the team. And then we have also brought in some incredible leaders. And I'll just say that, let's say you want to take your company to 50 million. Well, you need some people on your leadership team that have done that before, because for them, it's, well, of course you can do it because I've been there and I've done it. And so I always feel like it's great to level up. Not everybody needs to be like that, but if you have a few people on the leadership team you want to take it to 100, have somebody that on the team that has done that. And so they're bringing that experience and wisdom to the table. Now, there's 4 quadrants that you want a leadership team in: sales, marketing, operations, and then whatever it is you sell. So for us, it's mentoring. So we have a director of mentoring. So I have a second in command, which is my chief strategic officer. Okay, he's like my right hand, but he's strategic. He can make strategic decisions. And then we have a director, we have a CMO, We have a sales director. We have a chief of operations for the other three. And so, but I'll just tell you, the question was, how long does it take? You might want to hire one of those a year, or two of those in a year. You don't want to go all of a sudden and bring all those people on, because it takes time to get those things up to speed. They're going to want to make a lot of adjustments and so forth. And if you have too much going on, number one, that's a little tough on the cash. But if they are great leaders, they will pay for themselves so fast. Like they will hit the ground running within 30 days. And you should start, they should fuel the growth of your company. And so with each of these higher level people, you'll take your company to the next level.
Yeah, I love that. And I think we've just got time for one last question from Katie. Katie says, I would love any tips on how you source business owners and exec clients who are open to accepting help to run and scale their companies. Oh, so it's a marketing question. How do you market Pinnacle?
So let me just make sure I understand how to source business owners who are open to accepting the help to run and scale their companies. So is she somebody that is supporting other business owners? How do we get them
Yeah,
to get out of the way? Well, I mean, we do say people need to be coachable, right? And if you're giving advice and somebody is not putting that advice into action, it's frustrating. But the thing is that they're going to stay stuck. And so sometimes it takes a really tough love conversation to say, how's it working for you? You know, you say you want to go here, but you keep doing the same thing. And if that was going to work, you would be there by now, and you're not. And I say this with great care because I want to see you grow. And I know you know your business, but you know it taking it to here. Let me help you take it to here.
yeah, I love that. Thank you very much.
Hopefully that was helpful.
It definitely was. And I think we've got about 2 minutes before Perry Marshall's joining us. So we should say
Oh,
goodbye. But
okay.
thank you so much for joining us again, Alison. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody. I really enjoyed it.
Speak to you very soon.
All right. Bye bye.